back to another episode of Inside Access Control, sponsored by SIA. Very excited today to have Adam Groom join me with PopID. Adam, how you doing?
Doing well, Lee. How are you?
Very good. Can't complain at all, to be honest. That things are going well. So, why don't we jump into? You've got an interesting company in PopID, your background, the whole thing. So, it's thrilled that we connected on LinkedIn and had a chance to catch up. But why don't you give the listeners a bit of background on yourself, and then also what PopID is and what you all do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before I jump into that, just wanted to thank you real quick. Really appreciate what you guys are doing at Inside Access Control, giving organizations like PopID a platform to tell our story. And really love the emphasis on innovative technologies that are paving the way for both our industry and other industries. So thank you
I
very much for
appreciate that.
that. We appreciate
No,
it.
thank you. That's nice of you to say. I mean, that is really when I saw what you all had doing online, and that's where I've been following you, and then to see you go over there, I was like, oh, there's something there. So no, I appreciate you taking the chance to come on and have the conversation. So thank you.
No, absolutely. So as you said, my name is Adam Groom. I'm a graduate of the University of Colorado in Boulder. I have a degree in business administration. Went into the industry right after school and have now about 15 years of experience in industry. I've worked in a sales capacity, whether it be just in sales or sales leadership role for Ingersoll Rand, Assa Abloy, S2 Security, and Linnell S2. And now I am a consultant working with PopID. Today, I am responsible for helping PopID form their strategy around distribution, value-added reseller partners, and strategic partnerships specifically for one of their solutions called PopIntry Plus. And then, of course, just being an ambassador and creating some brand recognition around the PopID face recognition platform.
Yeah, very nice. And I guess that's it makes sense why they would go get you, and you've worked across. It's interesting to me just the number of areas you and I have either worked at the same place at different times than the rest, but
Sure.
know a lot of the same people. So that's what really it did trigger me when I saw that. That's an example which I was encouraged to see by PopID, because they went into the industry. You can see that they respect the industry enough to bring somebody, a vet, in to do it versus the typical tech outside our industry where they just throw a Stanford grad at it and hope that it
Sure.
actually gets adopted. So kudos to the company to do that. So why don't you give a little bit of background on the company itself, because it has a sort of a unique beginning and interesting entrance into the industry.
Yeah, so PopID is a growth company based out of Pasadena, and it's a majority ownership subsidiary of the Cali Group. The Cali Group is a holding company also out of Pasadena, and they have some large equity positions in some other restaurant tech companies. So some of those companies that might be familiar to the consumer, a company called Miso Robotics. Miso Robotics is a robotic automation company, and they have created Flippy the robot. Flippy is featured flipping and serving hamburgers in some Major League Baseball stadiums, also in some quick serve restaurant concepts. And as of recently, there was a relationship or partnership announced with I can't remember. It'll come to me.
It's a company.
There's another
Yeah.
relationship. White Castle with White Castle.
Got
Okay,
it.
so you might see Flippy featured there as well. They also, it's interesting. They have another smart food delivery service called Kitchen United, and then they also are 100% owner of a quick serve restaurant, a global quick serve restaurant concept called Cali Burger. And Cali Burger is a tech forward brand, and it allows the Cali Group to use that QSR concept as an incubator for some of their technologies. So if we come back to PopID, PopID is the latest addition to the Cali Group family. Started in 2017, and it was really started with the idea to use facial recognition as an authentication service. So PopID has evolved quite a bit since then. And really what it's become is a national Face ID services platform. So we'll talk about what that specifically means. But there's definitely, they're striving to create a robust platform that supports a lot of different facial recognition solutions.
And just to be clear on that too, I mean, they're looking to go beyond just the restaurant, but even though that's where they have a lot of deep rooted customer base and domain
Absolutely.
expertise. Okay.
Absolutely. So if you kind of if you break it down to the different product offerings and what use cases those serve, what sits on the platform today is you have this device that's next to me right here. It's called Pop Entry Plus, and this device specifically serves a use case for health and wellness screening, and also can be used um, to allow facial recognition as an authentication method for access or access control. Also on that platform is a solution called PopPay, which allows the consumer to use their face as an ID or authentication method for payment. So, the best way that I like to describe it or illustrate it is to break it into a customer story. So if a consumer, registers on the PopID platform, they can wake up, go down to the coffee shop. They can purchase their coffee and their donut using their face as an ID or as an authentication method for payment. They can then go to their office. They can use their face to gain access into their building. Maybe later that day, there's a sporting event that they want to go to. They can use their face as an ID for a ticket to get into a sporting venue. The use cases go on and on. We have some of those solutions available today. Some are out on the horizon. But again, the idea is to create a platform that supports many different use cases.
Yeah, that's the other part that was interesting to me was that anytime anything's attached to pay, and from an end user standpoint, that seems to be one of those great unlocks, if you would, of value creation that is sort of like the gateway drug to other things that you can do with it. And that's the part that really, when I first saw it, as a I don't know what you call like sort of the you pay, but it's what do they call it, where you get points and whatnot for doing it, right? Like
A
that
loyalty program, yeah.
loyalty. Thank you. It's the big one
Loyalty, yeah.
I get stuck on. So that was my moment. You had the hamburger moment. I got mine.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, this is going smooth. But yeah. So but that payment side, which attaches it to credit cards and identity and a lot of those things for higher levels of assurance. But even more, I feel like the company has an understanding of the end user, which you and I both know our traditional industry from the access control, that was a card and a reader. We really didn't pay attention to them up until recently, right?
Right,
We
right.
paid attention to the admin and we paid attention to the integrator. So now we have some catching up to do to understand what the end user wants. So you're coming at it from the other end at this point to where there's some domain expertise. And I just figured from the stickiness of that, the understanding of the end user, it made it very unique. The other thing is just curious. I mean, I don't know if this is something you share or not, but I got to believe the database of what you have is already pretty thick. So this idea that you can now expand this to say, hey, this thing that you trust to pay for food and the rest, your coffee, you can get into the Angels Stadium. He's like it
Right,
just there seems
right.
to be some bridges built already there. What you
Right. Well, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of things there. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of value in the PopID global database and growing that database. But you also said that you use the word trust, and trust is really a huge factor when deploying solutions and getting the consumer to adopt Face ID as the mechanism for that credential or what they're going to use for the authentication method. But we truly believe that if the consumer has a card or a phone or their face as an option to use, whether it be for payment or whether it be for access control, they're going to eventually choose the face just based off of convenience. And I say eventually because it goes back to that whole trust issue and making sure that the consumer is confident in the technology. So we have to be very cautious in putting things in place like opt-in and opt-out processes, making sure that we're illustrating and articulating how we securely move data throughout the process, and also, that we articulate that there's no misuse of data. But if you look at Face ID services in general, in other places in the world, it's ubiquitous. So we think, and I think that it's a matter of time before this technology is adopted, and as long as we can do it the right way and gain the confidence of the consumer, we're going to get there.
Yeah, no doubt. That's definitely an area, and that's where I felt like that the trust building exercise of doing it
It's
outside of
huge.
that and going to the other makes a lot of sense. So speaking about the trust side too of hiring yourself, being in the industry, trusting and understanding the industry itself. Like, what are your plans and desires, if you would, for the industry? Is this a product you're looking for resellers to bring in? So now you're catching up. So talk a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, no, no. It's a great question. We have a major emphasis, and we're being very aggressive in targeting value-added resellers to resell the product. And we kind of look at things in a phase approach. So right now, there's a lot of adoption of the project for health and wellness screening, and that type of implementation doesn't have too much complexity around it. But as we move into using the device and the software as an authentication method for access control, the installation becomes a little bit more complex. So, like I said, we're very interested in building out our value-added reseller network, um, and we're also very aggressively pursuing entities that want to be technology partners. So maybe someone that already has some type of technology solution that wants to embed a face service into their technology. There's really so many different use cases, whether you think of, like using your face to get cash out of your ATM machine, or at the grocery store, using your face when you go through the self-service line. These are all different scenarios or hypothetical scenarios where you just can't pay with your face right now, or face really isn't being used as an authentication method. So we're kind of pursuing a lot of different partnerships, and there's a lot of opportunity out there. But yeah, if anyone's interested, we're absolutely open to having conversations and working in a smart way to partnership and and grow this type of technology and service.
That's great to hear, and I'm glad we could get that message out. Talk to me a little bit about the topic around COVID and the impact that that's had on the business itself. Whether it's, I got to believe you were, like you said, the Pop ID came a lot from the quick serve restaurants and that. So,
Yeah.
immediate impact. I can see that, but then the sort of like I don't know if this plan was already in place and this is a result of a pivot, or it was always part and it just accelerated. Talk to me a little bit about what impacts it's had on your business, but then also at the end, if you don't mind, talk about sort of how you view the impacts of COVID just in general. Of
Yeah.
like why now is the time, if you would, for what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as bad as COVID has been, and for all of us, one thing that I think has happened is it's been a catalyst to increase the adoption rate around touchless solutions, or touchless technology in general. And so the the Pop ID platform that supports all these facial recognition services obviously is touchless. In any different scenario that you talk about. So I think that it really has helped our organization and also consumers, try to put things in place that are supporting the needs that are a result of COVID, or the pandemic. Now, Pop ID is based on really being a universal gateway for facial recognition. So we didn't, at the time, to have like thermal solutions or health and wellness check solutions, and we built those in response to COVID. But they're an immediate need. They're something that people need right now, and it's very easy for us to pivot in that direction and add it to our Pop Entry Plus device. So we have that, but again, it's not necessarily what our company is built on. Yeah, I mean, it's been a very interesting time, right? I think that a lot of organizations are going to adopt new technology and different technology that they've ever considered before, but I don't think that they're going to go back to doing business the old way. right? So new technology that they're going to be implementing now is probably going to be the way of the future. Whether that's something like the Pop Entry Plus device or whatever PopID offers, and many other services and products that are servicing because of where we're at, the climate that we're in.
Yeah, no, I agree. A lot of people have been talking about this idea that things have just fast forwarded about 10 years,
Yeah,
which is, it creates its own complexity issues, but then it creates great opportunity. And I like to stick on the positive side and then hope that people are thinking through some of the, what could go wrongs, if you would, of the
yeah,
implementation while we're in this sort of pressure cooker to have to adopt. But my take has been that this hysteria that's created will come back down, but it's not going to go back to where it used to be before. And you got the world's biggest reason to change some of these technologies that maybe you haven't had the real good value creation reason to do it other than
well,
nice to have,
well, that's it. I mean, the inflection point for the cost of facial recognition solutions and the value that that customers realize from it. It just, I don't think we ever really experienced that until now. And now it adds a whole nother value, right? Um, so it's pretty interesting, and exactly, I agree exactly with what you said. It sped us up, definitely. If it's not 10 years, 5 years, but definitely sped us up.
yeah, no, without a doubt. That's why I think it's exciting times in that for us. So yeah, so you said before you're looking for partners, not only from a distribution side integrator, but then also from the OEMs. If people want to find out more information, how to get a hold of you and see more about the product, where's the best place to do that?
Yeah, there's a few places that people can reach us. Please feel free to send emails to info@popid.com. Feel free to contact me directly at agroom@popid.com. And then our website, popid.com, more information there. More than happy to entertain, like I said, any conversation. Well, we look forward to working with strong partners, and bringing cool solutions to the market.
Well, good luck with everything, Adam. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here. It's good to see where you've ended up and what you're working on. I think it's you're at the right place at the right time. So excited to watch and see the impact you make. So thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lee. Always appreciate it.